episode of the second season of the Ari and Sid Show. I'm Ari.
And I'm Sid. We're forever friends, and this is the shit we care about.
On any given day, we have conversations about meaningful shit. I'm trying to memorize this intro for everybody, but we have conversations about meaningful shit. Sometimes it's not so meaningful. And so this podcast was created so we can come together, talk about the meaningful shit, and spread some awareness, learn from one another along the way.
Yes, absolutely. So if you hear some shit that you agree with, maybe some shit you don't agree with, or if you just want to stay connected with us and help us raise awareness, please like, subscribe, follow along, be our friend on Instagram and Twitter, and, share with a friend.
Yeah, sharing is caring. So we gonna get right into it. We have a special guest with us today. It's so crazy. I was thinking about this literally before I hit record, and I was like, this is like two guests back to back. So I'm super excited that we were able to make it happen.
I know. I like guest episodes, and I guess I'm also very excited because we've had really dope guests on the show, and they've been people that we know in real life, which is also dope because we get to share that we know really great people in real life. And so today our special guest is Justina Trim, and I get to know Justina in real life, and she is definitely a sister friend, a part of my sisterhood circle, and I love her dearly. I feel like, I don't know how long we've known each other, Justina, at this point, but it's been some time. And so, in April, we were focusing our episodes on wellness and spirituality, and we did skip a week. So we wanted to make sure that we added this episode, even though we are in May. So today we're going to be talking about astrology with Justina Trim. And I'm so excited because if y'all don't know, you'll know by the end of this episode that Justina knows her shit. So I'm so excited to have her here and just dive into this conversation. So please, without further ado, please introduce yourself.
Hi. Oh my gosh. I'm so excited to be here and just get to know more about you all as well. Talk about astrology and your birth charts and get really intimate in that way. But yes, my name is Justina. I feel like introductions are always so awkward because I'm like, what do I say? What do I even talk about?
Braggy. Brag.
But yeah, I don't even know what necessarily to call myself. I don't think I'm an official astrologer, but I really love astrology. I've been studying it or have studied it since high school, I would say. And so I'm really into it, but I have a master's in women, gender, and sexuality studies, and my thesis focused on ancestral wisdom and healing. And so I love tapping into different modalities and looking at the science as well as the mystical behind healing for Black women in particular. And so, astrology feels very aligned in that. And yeah, I think that's it.
That's dope. We talked about ancestral, not necessarily healing. What was it? We were talking about something in another episode. So maybe we should bring her back on, talk about that some more. That's dope.
Yeah, I think we were talking about I know we talked about how trauma and things can be passed down through our bodies and generations. But we did talk about tapping into ancestral spirits and just being connected with your ancestors. I think we talked about setting up altars and things like that.
That's what it's called. I could not think of
the ancestral altars.
Yeah,
that's so dope. I loved your intro, by the way. I know they are kind of awkward sometimes, but I like that you mentioned two words in particular, astrology and healing, because I feel like some people don't, those two don't come in the same space for a lot of people. So can you kind of start us off with just sharing how do you feel, or what have you learned in explaining that astrology is a part of healing or can be a part of healing?
Yeah. Well, I think I love anything that allows us to learn more about ourselves. And I feel that if we are able to learn more about ourselves and our connection to others, our connection to the universe, and energy in general, then that initiates a healing process. And so that is kind of the way that I've always related it, because astrology is literally the study of planets and celestial movement. So things that are happening in the universe, because it's like these big balls of energy that actually impact us here on Earth. And so I think what you're saying is so spot on. Said like people don't necessarily correlate it, or there's all this like talk about it not being real, or it doesn't resonate with everyone, and that's fine. But if you are a person that does believe in energy and the metaphysics behind energy, then I definitely think that it has a bearing on the way that we perceive ourselves and others.
Yeah. So what made you, because I'm not going to guess your age because I don't want to disrespect you. You know what I'm saying? Because I feel like I always get disrespected. People are like, what are you, 18? Anyways, you started in high school.
Uh-huh.
What made you continue? Because, a lot of people get into stuff in high school, like, and then it drops off. What made you stay committed and like invested in studying astrology and, continuing it now to this day?
Yeah. Well, I'll be 28 this year. But yeah, I don't know. It wasn't something. I've always been into reading, into books and stuff. And so like I always just kind of gravitated towards like the new age section in Barnes and Noble, Borders, when that was a thing. And all of these different bookstores, I was like kind of always just a little intrigued. And so that started that process of me digging deeper. I definitely fell off of astrology when I started college because, it's like,
Yeah.
it's, it's college and it's undergrad. And like, for me, I stayed on campus. So you're just like trying to figure shit out.
Yeah.
And you're trying to figure yourself out, and you're trying to figure out like who you actually like and who you want to spend time with. And so it wasn't as big of a part of my life during that time period. But then I reconnected with it, I would say, towards the end of my undergraduate career. So maybe like junior or senior year. And then I really, really, really got into it. Maybe when I like first started like my real job after graduating college. And I don't really know why. It was kind of like an in and out thing. But I think when I started to become more aware of myself and how I wanted to relate to people, I wanted to learn more about, I guess, different tools that could help me understand myself more. And so I also minored in psychology. And so anything that is about like trying to figure people out, I'm naturally intrigued by. And so, yeah, I think that's what really got me more involved, because I'm like, I feel like I vibe with this person. Why do I vibe with this person? Are there other things that are at play that like, is that why I vibe with that person? Is it me? Cause sometimes you meet someone and like you can naturally just click. And then sometimes you meet someone else and they're not doing anything wrong or they're not saying wrong things, but like for some reason it's just y'all are not vibing. And
Right.
yeah, so I just got more intrigued and interested into like what could be possible reasons behind that.
That's real, because some people it's just like, I don't know, but I just don't like them.
Yeah.
What are you?
I don't want to say that out loud because that's mean, because I probably don't even know them that well, but we just don't vibe.
Yeah, that's real. I have
Very
I have so many questions, but I just asked one, so I'm gonna let Sydney ask one because I'm writing them down in my notes. I'm like, well, okay, yep.
Yeah. So, okay. So I think, so you mentioned like it's getting to know yourself a little bit better. And I'm going to be honest for a second, y'all. Like, I love astrology, or I love learning about astrology. I don't know a lot, right? I'm newly learning. Like, I know in the beginning, like, my birthday's March 25th, so I am an Aries. That's my sun sign. And so for a long time, that's the only one that I like focused on. I'm now learning to, like, look deeper into your chart, all that. But like, I know for a fact that I would like read things and be like, that's not me. I don't want to. And then like, I'd like ignore that part. So, but I think it's real, like you say, like, it's important to like know how you function and why you function. So I have been learning a little bit more about my chart. I now know that I am a Capricorn moon and a Cancer rising as well. So, learning about all that stuff. I do have a question though, because so I say that I'm an Aries, but I know that if I use a different sort of chart, then dang, now I forgot what the name of the chart is. My sister was just telling me about it. But whatever, when I put my information into that, I guess like modality or whatever, it comes up as a different, like it pulls me up as a Pisces. Do you know what I'm talking about? Is it like sidereal or something like that? Like,
is it because of the lunar? Because you know how there's 13 months technically in the lunar calendar, right? But they shortened it. They shorted it because of the pagan, right? I just learned about this somewhere. Is that right? I don't know. But I feel like there's 13 months. Maybe that would be why.
And it depends too, depending on like when you're on the cusp, which I think you are. It depends like where the sun is in that particular year. So it might slightly shift. So if it shifts by an hour, then that might mean that you're in a different sign based off of where the sun is shining. That sounds like a lot and very complex, but that's probably why. Because like for instance, my sister is a Pisces, but her birthday is February 19th. But that is like the start of Pisces season. So sometimes when she puts it in, it registers her as I think an Aquarius. Because Aquarius is before Pisces season. And so, yeah, I think when you're on a cusp, it's a little bit harder, depending on where the sun is. But yeah.
What is the period of time in between, I guess, the transitions when you're considered on the cusp? Because yeah, I think Aries season starts like the 21st and then I'm the 25th.
Yeah. Well, the moon definitely has phases between like 2 to 4 days. So like for instance, when there's a full moon, the effects of a full moon, or like you can see a full moon for like 3 to 4 days, and then it starts to shift into other phases. And so I think it's similar to the sun, but like the sun usually it shouldn't be. I'm confused as to why that's happening. Because you're on you're to the 25th. It's not like you're the 22nd. So that which website you using?
Okay, yeah. I'm gonna pull it up so you can tell me what I'm doing. So I was kind of hurt. First of all, I'm like, all right, let's first back up a little bit.
And then also, I wonder if it's because there's Western astrology, and then there's African astrology, then there's Eastern astrology. So all of that means something different. And what we know more about is, I would say, Western astrology.
Okay. So maybe
that has something to do with it as well.
Yeah.
Well, while Sydney is looking up this website, I have questions about like, so I have what is this? The Cosmic RX, right? We had me and Sydney in our little group chat. We did this Cosmic RX. We put in our birthday and all that, and it told us like the self-care, because RX means prescription or whatever, reaction, whatever. So self-care stuff and all that. But then it like broke down what the sun, moon, Mars, Mercury, Venus, and rising is, right? But I have no idea what any of that means. I know what the sun is, right? Because that's easy. But like, what is moon? Oh, and last episode, or whenever the episode was, we talked about the moon in Aries. I am not an Aries moon. I stand corrected. I'm a Sagittarius moon.
Imposter.
I know. I'm tripping. I have Aries in it, but it's not in the moon. Okay, so what does moon mean? I've
Mhm.
seen, like, is that like emotion because
Yeah.
of the?
Uh-huh.
I assume, like, I picture because of the moon affecting like the waves and that connecting with the
Yes.
emotions. Is that right?
Yes, you're spot
Okay,
on. Yeah.
and then
Y'all know more than what you're letting on.
Come on, Ariana. Dang.
and then a part of it is poetry, right? Okay, because I'm a little poet, you know.
Yes.
Um,
Okay.
what is Mars though? Because I literally have no idea what Mars means.
Okay. So each planet means something different, which
Okay.
is what you're getting at, right? So like the sun and the moon, they're not planets, but they're celestial bodies. So they're interpreted kind of like the way that the planets are interpreted, but they're still different because like the sun is a star, and the moon is the moon. But Mars refers to, like, your Mars sign would refer to sex and the way that you, like, what gets you angry and the way that you process those types of emotions. So like passion. That's the way that I interpret it. So that's Mars. Do you want me to go down the list?
Yeah, I was gonna
Yes,
go. I mean,
please.
Mercury, Venus, all that. I was just gonna keep going.
Okay. I'm gonna say them from the top of my head, and if I'm missing a planet, let me know, and then I'll say what it means. But so that's Mars. Mercury is the way that you think, and Venus is the way that you love, and the way that you prioritize relationships, who you are in like a relationship aspect. What's the other ones? Uh, Uranus. Sorry.
That was so childish.
No, that shit always makes you laugh too.
I'm sorry. I'm a Leo, so I laugh at everything. But that refers to, I guess I would like really just, because when I think about Uranus, I think about the way that it was actually found in history and scientifically. So maybe explaining it that way will provide more insight as to what it means. But it kind of it shocked the scientific community because when it was found at the time, people thought that there were no more planets in the solar system, and when it was found, it was kind of like on its side. So Uranus is a little crazy. It does its own thing, and so it kind of refers to, I guess, where you're eccentric. Then there's Pluto. I'm going all out of order. I'm sorry. I'm thinking about what were those is it acronym, those little abbreviations that we had to memorize to remember the solar system. I can't remember. You know what I'm talking about? Those little things that we had to remember in science.
Vaguely, very
Yeah,
vaguely.
kind of like how we have to remember
Barely.
Is it PEMDAS?
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
We had one for science, and so
That's
remember
right. Yeah.
but I can't remember what they were. So I'm going all out of order. So
my very
yes,
intelligent mother, something, because it's Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars. Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars.
yes,
Something. My very intelligent mother. Something. Or empower something. Mother. My very
One,
something
two,
mother.
3, 4, 5. We have 5. So what? There's 3 more.
Okay. Saturn, and then Pluto, and then what's the other one?
Jupiter.
Yes. Okay. Perfect. So Saturn is the responsibility. So the way that we process money, career, work, that kind of stuff. Saturn is like the hard ass teacher. Saturn doesn't play. I don't know if you all have heard of like having your Saturn's return or whatever in astrology, but that usually relates to when you're about to. Saturn orbits, I think, the sun every 30 years. So when you're in those time periods, they represent like real big shifts and transitions in your life. So like when you're getting out of your 20s into your 30s and, you know, like you kind of go crazy because you're like, who the fuck am I?
I'm about to be 30 and
Ariana's like, ma'am, we are only a few months away from 30. I do not
if
need
I
that.
shave my head, hey, don't ask no questions. It's because of my Saturn.
Exactly.
Did you say what Pluto was? I'm
No.
writing all this down.
Okay. Pluto's ruled by Scorpio. So Pluto is very like the underworld. Think Greek mythology, the underworld, like just like everything that's like super deep and like hidden within you. It represents death, transformation. It's like it's so interesting because like Pluto is like, you know, there was a time where Pluto wasn't even considered a planet. I guess NASA and the scientists and them reneged on that. It was like, my bad. I guess Pluto
Did
is.
they? I was wondering.
I think planet for real.
Okay, so then there's 9 planets then, right? Not 8. Because I said 9. I said so. 8. I'm tripping. Anyways, continue. Sorry. I'm all over the place.
I'm all over the place too, so I apologize because I wanted to go in order.
No worries.
And then what's the other one? Jupiter. Okay, yeah. And Jupiter is expansion. So Jupiter represents abundance. Abundance and expansion, but that can also manifest like it's kind of fun. It can also manifest in ways where you you have excess habits in certain ways depending on what Jupiter is on your chart. So for instance, I don't know, I read this somewhere. I'm not sure how true it is because I've also read like physical attributes and how they can relate to astrology and like where your planets are in your chart. But like Jupiter, because it's ruled by Sagittarius, or Jupiter rules Sagittarius rather, if you have Sagittarius in your chart, it sometimes means that maybe you could be a little bit thicker. So I'm Sagittarius rising. So like Sagittarius risings have like they have like really thick thighs or like really thick legs, or like that expansion, like larger than life presence. And so it can also relate in that way too. And
interesting. So where does the rising come in? Where's the rising sign come in and all that?
Yeah. So that's your ascendant. It's not a planet per se. I want to say that it's like where a specific either a specific constellation or asteroid, because there's also Lilith, and then there's also Chiron. And so these are specific asteroids that land in specific points, depending on like your chart. And so that can also have an impact on.
I didn't even know asteroids were considered.
See, that's the other thing too, like what you were saying, or what Sydney was saying too about only recognizing your sun sign, because like it's so complex. There's degrees, there's asteroids.
I've seen those charts that have like all the numbers and
and like the lines and
yes.
First of all, how do I get one, right? Like, where do I sign up for one of these? I've been trying to figure that out. Well, actually, I haven't really been trying, but there have been points in time where I was like Googling I don't know, chart astrology. Is that what it's called, a chart, right?
Yeah. Birth chart, you can get one from Cafe Astrology. That I love Cafe Astrology. That's a good place to start because Cafe Astrology will not only give you your chart for free, but they'll break down your placements. They'll break down like major placements. Some of the other placements you might have to like pay for, to find out deeper. Yeah. But I mean, as far as your sun sign, your moon sign, your Venus sign, your Mars, your Mercury, they'll give you like a long explanation as to what that means and what that encompasses. So those are the planets that are closer to Earth, right? So they have a bigger impact on your personality. Whereas Saturn, Uranus, Jupiter, Pluto, they're they have impact, but it's not as intense. So for instance, like Pluto represents a generation. So if you were born in like late 80s to early 90s, then your Pluto is probably in Scorpio or around there. And so that represents maybe the thought process of a specific generation.
Wow.
This is also like astrology is humbling because like it really makes you like put into perspective that like you're just like this one little part of like so much stuff that's going on, right? Like I think we like to think as humans that like how do I say this? That like what we do like matters a lot to a lot of people or like to like the universe, like but like we're so small in comparison to like everything else that's going on that like you don't like no one's really that pressed in watching you like that. Like we think we are because of social media, but like there's so much other stuff that's going on in the universe and we're just this tiny speck in all of that.
Exactly.
Oh wait, we missed Neptune. Is Neptune and Pluto the same or no?
No, they're not.
Okay.
Yes, thank you for. I was like, I don't know if this is complete. No, perfect. Thank you. Neptune is ruled. Well, yeah, Neptune rules Pisces, and so it represents dreams, mysticism, and kind of like the unknown. If that makes sense, it's that's what it represents. Kind of like the in-between world, things that you're not like so sure about. You know, when you have a dream and it feels so real, that is the energy of Neptune. That's what that is. Yeah.
Would like deja vu fall into that too then?
Absolutely.
Ooh.
Yeah. And I just watched The Matrix again yesterday, y'all. To like rewatch it, and it's so wild because it came out in '99. So like rewatching it really like fucked with my mind because it's like, you know, we're older, so you recognize different things, and you're like, I was just like, it was kind of scary, but because they were talking about deja vu too. Sorry, quick tangent, but they were talking about deja vu too in the Matrix. Like when you experience deja vu, that means like something was shifted in the universe. It's a glitch in the Matrix, you know?
Yeah.
That's crazy because at one point in my life, I was experiencing deja vu like so much. And I'm like,
yeah,
what the fuck is going on with me? I just couldn't. Literally, I'd stop and like be like, what? I feel like I told Kendall once, my boyfriend, I was like, we're gonna get in an argument today because I was like, I feel like this day happened, and I feel like I'm getting premonitions of like we're gonna get an argument. Luckily, maybe because I spoke it out loud, we didn't. But it was so bizarre.
It's scary. It's scary because I think it's both and like what you were saying, Sydney, about like knowing that we're just a tiny speck in the grand scheme of things, but also feeling like we have so much intuitive knowledge of like what you were saying, Ari, about like being like I've been here before. I've experienced this before. Why do I feel that way? So it's weird. It's really weird and really trippy. But all of that definitely relates to Neptune and the energy that it brings. So like when Neptune tends to be in retrograde or when it's going backward or when there's something wonky going on with Neptune, there tends to be like a lot of confusion for a lot of different people in the collective, like confusion about possibly your relationship, confusion about your job. You're just like, I kind of just feel like I'm here and I'm not sure what's real and what's a dream and what I should be doing and things like that. So that's that planet's energy.
So, okay, I have a question about things like that, like planets going into retrograde and all that jazz, right? So even if these planets, hold on. Well, I guess my first question is, everyone is connected to these planets, but I guess they're different signs, right, in each of these planets. So when each of these planets is going into either retrograde or whatever, people are experiencing different things in relation to that, right?
Okay. Yes.
That is so dope.
Yeah. And it's really trippy. It's really trippy because even if, because sometimes it depends on your birth chart and when you were born too, because like some people were born in Mercury retrograde. So when Mercury is in retrograde, they might experience it differently, than people who weren't born in a Mercury retrograde. They might have a different understanding of it and it impacts them differently. So yeah, I think the assumption of astrology is that, oh, well, we can't, you're saying everybody who was born within this time period is the same. That doesn't make any sense. And that's kind of the way that a lot of people tend to dismiss it, or be like, okay, no, that doesn't resonate. But it's so much more complex than that, because it's not like every person is unique. We all have our own birth chart. And like it's just layers to it. There's layers to your degrees and all of it. Because even if, let's say, two people were born at the same exact time, if they weren't born in the same exact place, their birth chart could still be different. So yeah, it's more complicated than people may think.
Yeah. I feel like it's also like very grounding, right? Because it like looking at your chart, I feel like you're basically looking at where you were when, like, like where the planets were and where life was when you popped up. Like this is exactly what it looked like, and this is exactly where things were sitting when at the exact time that you made your transition here, which is really, really cool. I think it like connects us back to like it gives us like roots to the universe. Like
Yes.
like not even just to like, Earth, but like to the universe, which I think is really dope. And I think learning more about your chart is important too, or like it's fascinating because like I mentioned, like I know a lot of different Aries, right? People who have like Aries sun sign, and for one, we know that Mars Aries are just a little bit different than April Aries, right? I'm gonna say that like that, but like also like even just knowing like other March Aries, I'm like, should we be more similar because we're Aries? Like, am I doing this wrong? Like, am I not? But like, it makes more sense because like, your moon is different and your rising is different and all that. Like, we're Aries, but in a different degree, I guess.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Yes.
I think that's dope.
Well said. Mm-hmm.
That's very cool.
It is cool. And I mean, getting more into like our moon sign and our Venus sign and stuff, it does, when you learn more about it, it can make you realize why you resonate with certain signs that typically you wouldn't be astrologically compatible with. So, as an example, I was telling you guys, I'm a Leo and my husband is a Scorpio. Astrologically, that does not work. Usually that does not work. We're opposites. He's water, I'm fire. Sometimes it's fine, whatever. And obviously we know not everything is astrology. So much is who you are and the way that you can relate to someone and their experiences. But part of the reason, when I looked deeper into my chart, I recognized that my Venus is in Cancer, which is a water sign. So like the way that I experience relationships or the way that I crave relationships directly relates to water energy. And so even though I'm a fire sign, like I resonate with the fact that he's a water sign. We still be getting into it, but like I get, I get like the reason why there's compatibility there. So it makes it a lot more complex.
I was going to ask you about that actually, because I am an Aries. My fiance is a Scorpio. So I was going to ask you, like, how do you see that playing into like relationships and like all that jazz? But like, yeah, it be getting fiery over here, y'all. But it's love.
Okay, so I have a question. And I was just curious because you had mentioned things about being compatible, and usually people see that online. And so me and Sydney, we're big Twitterers or tweeters, and we oftentimes see things online and we talk about it on our show. And so I'm curious because I started following the topic of Virgo, and I'm always seeing things like readings or monthly topics or things like that to look forward to based on my sun sign. And so how does one determine which read they should like listen to, or is it all based on like taking it for a grain of salt and really finding something that resonates with you? Because, you know, there's a lot of shit out there.
Just because I talk a lot about this on my Instagram stories. I said, like, I'm sure you've seen it before because, like, I go on rants about the ways that this new age stuff is it can be very surfacey because it's trendy right now. And so a lot of people tap into it. They know they can make money off of it. I think it's been infiltrated. A lot of the sacredness of it has been manipulated into money schemes, and I can see that, or it's been manipulated into wanting attention or getting as many retweets and likes and stuff. So it's so important to discern, you know, what you feel is genuine. I would say that, yeah, more than anything, like what you were talking about, taking it with a grain of salt and like being super discerning to what content that you're taking in, because at the end of the day, I genuinely feel like we all have spiritual gifts. I feel that anytime any type of like spiritual person or astrologer or whatever puts themselves up on a pedestal and make it seem like they got the gift and they the one and this and that and the other, that's a red flag, because we can all tap in. Now we all have different types of gifts, but no one is better than anyone. And so that to me is always an indicator as to like who to take content from, based off of how they talk about themselves, based off of the way that they provide astrological advice or spiritual advice. If you notice that there's a lack of humility, I'm done. Like I'm like, I don't know how genuine this is. I also feel that even though this is a whole like line of work and field and people got to eat, this is just my opinion. I do think that no one has a monopoly on spirituality. And so even though you can make money doing readings or whatever, I also raise my eyebrows at people who want to charge for every damn thing, because like I don't think God lives in capitalism. So if there's a specific person that like wants to charge for every little thing, it's like, okay, I don't know how legit you are, because at the end of the day, if you're called to do this, or if you feel called to speak more about these different topics, there's a part of you that will always want to like give it, you know, and give a part of it for free. And so like I'm trying to figure out how I will eventually maybe charge for readings or do different things, but it's something that I struggle with because I'm like, I just feel like it's disrespectful. You know, it's not something to hoard money over. And so I'm just being, I guess, really mindful as to how I want to share this information, but also advocate for myself, because it is labor. And so, yeah, I would say that would be an indicator, just being really discerning and follow your intuition. Like someone might resonate with a lot of different people, and people like, oh, I love this person. This is the person that I go to for astrology or for readings or whatever. But if something in your spirit doesn't sit right, don't follow them. You don't have to take anything of what they're saying, because there's a reason why it doesn't sit right with you.
I feel that. I like that too. I think sometimes, like, so Ariana mentioned Twitter. I do have a lot of that on my timeline as well, and that makes sense to why I see some folks who are like, who will like say like, if you're wanting to donate, right? Because like it's labor, but I feel like they're saying like, it's my gift that like. Right. Like you said, like I don't have the authority to govern and add a price tag to this realistically, but like it's a gift that I'm sharing, and this is labor. So like, if you want to feed back into me, yeah. Also, side note, I went and looked at my chart, and my Venus is in Pisces. So like, does that like make more sense now that that's a water sign? Yeah.
Yes.
Also, Anna, you were talking about apps or whatever, and I try to remember what apps that I was using the latest app that I downloaded that has my birth chart on it is, I think it's Chani. I don't know if that's how I'm pronouncing it right. CHANI. And so like it pulls up my whole, you can't see that, but it pulls up my whole chart too. And then it like lists out like the keys to your chart. Like it'll say like, my Mercury is in Aries in the 10th house, and that's how and where I communicate. And like I can tap into there. And to read more into it, you have to pay, but the free version at least shows you that part. It shows me all of my.
And Chani is dope. I love Chani. I think that you gotta feel out who's operating in integrity. That's what I'll say.
This episode was so dope. Getting to know Justina Trim and more about astrology was amazing. We decided that we were going to cut this episode off and make a part 2 because we just want to get more information. It was just too amazing. So if you love astrology and you love the show and what you heard, please feel free to leave a review and check us out for part 2 next time. Thanks. See ya.